Welcome to Pure Vincy on Sweet Radio SVG. As you know, Pure Vincy is the show where we focus on everything Vincentian, our talent, our history, our culture, our traditions. And in this month of October, in our 42nd anniversary of independence, I have had the opportunity to do something a little different. This month, we are focusing on some of the icons of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And among them, you've heard from Mikey Findlay, and I call him the Great Vincy all-rounder because he's a father, he's a journalist, he's a sportsman, he's everything that you can think of and more in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But we've been keeping it in-house, we've been keeping it domestic. And today, thanks to Brandon by Weeks, our very own Suzette Small Weeks, we are able to expand our focus into the diaspora. These are three pure Vincentian ladies, pure Vincy ladies, who are doing it for us in Canada, flying the flag of St. Vincent and the Grenadines high. Ladies, good evening. Welcome to Pure Vincy on Sweet Radio SVG. It is indeed a pleasure to have you with us.
Good evening to you too. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I am delighted to have you. Let's listen to a little bit of music. I want to celebrate you ladies first, and then we'll come back and talk more, okay?
Woman, 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 woman. Woman, 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 woman.
This is Fire Empress.
Woman, 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 woman. Life is a journey, and I'm part of it. Life is reality, it is not a myth. A woman was made a man's companion since the days of creation, to reproduce and replenish the earth. A woman's role is something of worth.
Life is a journey, and you three ladies are certainly a part of it, certainly a part of the Vincentian aspect of this journey, and we are so proud to have you with us. Sin, let's start with you. Tell us about your background in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Oh boy, my background in St. Vincent. I went to Petersville High School, and then I did my first year of, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. What's the school that's over in Cane Road, but the green skirt, white shirt?
Emmanuel High School.
Emmanuel High School.
In Edinburgh, yes. Hey, Emmanuel!
And then my brother and I left in 1989, came to Montreal, Canada, and we've been here since.
Okay, so this is Suzette Haywood, and Suzette is the CEO and founder of Sinsu Salon and Boutique, and you are also a cosmetologist, a nail technician, a makeup artist, and a hairdresser. Several hats.
Yeah, and I have the cosmetic line 20 years now, which I'm thinking if I should relaunch to change some things or just continue to go along with it, or I'm just rebranding a bit.
Maybe by the end of this show, we'll figure out what needs to be done.
Yes, that's for sure. And so now I moved to Ottawa. I met Suzette, and you know, she's such an incredible lady, doing really great things for St. Vincent, and I'm so happy to be a part of it and helping her in any way I can.
Thank you. We're going to come back to you because we still don't know where in St. Vincent you're from. But before we do, let me introduce the other two young ladies on our panel this evening. We have Solita and we have Michelle, also known as Mushala, the Short Sisters. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. So Lisa, I know that you are the CEO and co-founder of Atlantic Scholarship Organization, but you also have Soli Productions Management Incorporated. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, you go ahead. Where are you from in St. Vincent originally?
So we're from the Grenadines, Beckway, Low Bay girls here. Yep. I went to school at the Adventist Primary and Secondary School on Beckway, and after that came to Canada for university. Yeah. So I'm a
Michelle.
Beckway
Beckway
girl.
girls in the house.
Yeah.
Michelle, you are the CEO and founder of the Learning for Young Minds, and you're also the co-founder of the Atlantic Scholarship Organization. Yes?
Right.
Welcome to Pure Vincy. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have Lower Bay on Pure Vincy. I think we have two of our dedicated listeners who are also from Lower Bay and Beckway, so they'll be more than delighted to see that they're being represented here on Pure Vincy. And these three ladies are three entrepreneurs. And while we're here, why don't we get started on the topic of entrepreneurship? Generally, people tend to think of entrepreneurship as the ticket out of financial difficulty and out of unemployment as the solution to all of these things. Sin, I see that you don't think so. Tell us, what do you think are some of the challenges as an entrepreneur? And I'm not even talking yet about females in entrepreneurship. I'm just talking about general challenges of entrepreneurship. Let's start with you, Sin.
For me, I think the challenges is, like you said, we're not speaking about women just yet, but as
not
female,
just yet.
but
No.
like having resources that is given to you in the field that you want to have. Like, again, I'm only speaking of a person of like color in an entrepreneurship ways. I feel that we're not having the accessibility to a lot of the finances that others have privilege to get to like excel us to the level that we can reach. I find that, the support that I see that a lot of small entrepreneurship business owners get, like they're not accessible also for us. So finance is a huge thing. Having that, the cash flow is really a hard thing to do, and supporting of or others that wants to help to see you get to that top.
And Solita and Michelle, in terms of immigration, the impact of immigration and how you were able to succeed as an entrepreneur, do you find that it has been challenging because you are not native Canadians?
Can I go first? It's crazy that you asked it that way, because I like to think that my immigrating to Canada was my first act of entrepreneurship. I had a desire to have something more than just the high school education, and just the way I put everything in place, coming to this country alone, no family, nothing, and figuring out a way to pay for school. I spent the first 3 years of university house sitting and babysitting in exchange for rent, so that I could afford to stay in school and stay here. So I feel like I was always an entrepreneur, and everything I did in life, I tackled with that sort of spirit. So being an entrepreneur in Canada as an immigrant, in and of itself doesn't really pose any extra challenges. I feel like being an entrepreneur in itself is already a huge challenge, but none that is, at least for me personally, is impacted by the fact that I'm an immigrant. I feel like being an immigrant and having to struggle the way I did to become citizen and become a true Canadian in all the sense of it has made me a better entrepreneur, if anything.
Okay, and so Lisa, what would you say?
Well, my experience is a little different. So for me, there are like obstacles that are presented because of my status. It's not as easy to walk through certain doors. And like my sister is a citizen, I'm now a permanent resident. So, and even with that status, there are differences I find with access as well to certain things. So for me, it has been, and it still is sort of a challenge getting support as an entrepreneur coming from the islands, sitting here in this space. I don't know what it's like for other parts of Canada, but I know in Halifax, I'm not a Black Nova Scotian, I'm an immigrant Black. And within that itself too, there are challenges that you have to face because I am not, there are not things in place that I can benefit readily from because it's not set up for me. I don't have that Nova Scotia in front of my Blackness, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Sin, do you find that you've had challenges as an immigrant entrepreneur?
No, actually, it's I was raised in Montreal, like I said before, and I was very young. So my circle that I hang with was just, I felt accepted. I think it's a mindset. I never really wanted to feel that because of I'm an immigrant that I'm different than. I just see myself as human regardless, and no matter who it is, where I am, I'm just going to make sure that whoever is in front of me will see me as equal. So I think I always had that mindset that I don't care. I just want a piece of the pie that's mine too, you know? So I never internalized anything like that, but I can see where the struggle can be. They're there, but it's just that I just choose to take it a different way than just like, okay, you want to block me here, I'm going to go that way.
Interesting approach. Ladies and gentlemen, just before we move on, I'd like to let you know that most of the music, perhaps with the exception of 3 songs, most of the music that you're going to hear this evening was selected by our guests, and they have provided us with their favorite Pure Vincy songs. And I looked at the list, and whereas some of them are, very mild to moderate Vincentian soca songs, I noticed that one in particular is a party animal. And the one that is the party animal I found quite surprising. But hey, let's share some music and we'll come back to the discussion. Interesting reaction. This is Michelle's song, yet I see Stina and Solita partying more to it than Michelle is. Michelle, is it that you're so awestruck by your song that you don't have time to react?
Right? No, the thing is, I'm still thinking about the conversation and about how our answers differed in a lot of ways, which is really beautiful message in itself, that even though we're all immigrants from the same country, our experience here in Canada is so different.
I found that striking as well. Which is
why I prefaced mine with saying, this is my experience, because I know that not everyone has the same. My situation was different. My conditions were different. I landed in a different part of the country. And so, yeah, I guess I wasn't reacting to the song because I was thinking about everybody's answers and how how it's a nice, true representation of what it could look like to be an immigrant in
The
Canada.
diversity in all forms, diversity in all forms. But it was, as you say, interesting that you went, Michelle, as well, you're a citizen now, and you found that your passage was so much easier than that of Solita's, and Solita's a permanent resident, and to this day she's still having different issues than you are having. And Sin, you on the other hand, you just decided, listen here, these things are available to me and I am going to grab them regardless to what is going to happen.
It's different in this situation that we came here already landed. So we already arrived in Canada with all our OHIP, our Medicaid card, our social number, our everything. So I came already as like a permanent resident. So it was just a different start from the beginning.
Yeah, you were already integrated by the time you got there. Yeah. Well, your integration process had begun before you even got there.
Exactly, exactly. So when I left St. Vincent, it was already done.
Okay.
And I think it's important for people who are listening to understand like the three channels in which that happens and how different it looks. So if they're hearing our stories and thinking, oh my gosh, mine is so much different, know that that in itself is normal for those differences to take place. And that, yeah, for me, like, you know, I'm building my own tables because then if you deny me access a certain space, I am going to create something that's going to get me to the place I need to be as well. So it's not that I'm letting the obstacles hinder my growth. It's just I know that they are there and I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to overlook that their existence is right there and you know, creating that sort of hiccup in my process. But like the other Sin said, you go after what you want. You don't really care. You know what you want and you're going for it. I just wanted to point out that the process isn't smooth and some of the obstacles that I face, just so that if somebody's listening to us, so that it gives them a blueprint to sort of go from as well, while accepting their challenges also is normal, is their normal in their process.
Yeah. And even in my case, I don't think it was smooth either. I just felt like I had the tools necessary to get me through it.
Okay, Solita, I want to come back to you. Your chosen area of operations is not the easiest field to break into. Tell us a little bit about Soli Productions, Soli Productions Management.
Right. So for me, I started in the industry as a model, and from St. Vincent as well. That's where I fell in love with modeling. It was on Beckway. Naomi Campbell, my inspiration. And then I got into modeling on the mainland with Image Modeling Agency there. And so when I came to Canada, the next step was to find representation. And when I did so, I found that because I look the way I look, this is not going to be easy for me to break in. I had the talent, but I just didn't have the status quo, skin color or age, because I came in as an older model as well. So all those other things that were present, so again, set up those barriers, but I was able to find the love of coaching because I knew what I was doing from back home. Like I had tough coaches back in St. Vincent. You know, they went hard because when you step into the game, it's not an easy crowd in St. Vincent or Beckway or any parts of the Grenadines when you're going up in your modeling or you're doing any kind of pageant. So you have to bring your A game. So I think when I came here and I had that, my agent saw something in me that sparked sort of a next step into the coaching aspect of my career, or a career that I didn't know was going to be existing for me through this journey. And then when I graduated university and started doing other things in my academic field, I wanted to expand by using my skills as a model to facilitate fundraising, event, and stuff like that that would get funds for the scholarship programs that I was working with in the other organization. So it started the birth of Soli Production through all of that. And
what is the scope of services that Soli offers?
So it's coaching. The first part of it is coaching, so model coaching, model development. And then once I did that, I realized the models that were coming to me looked like me, or they were of a community that wasn't readily accepted into the industry, but they felt comfortable coming to me for coaching. So it kind of then led into the agency element of my company, because I would train them. However, there was no place for them to get easy access to representation. So that gives way to me becoming an agent. So I was battling both a model coach and now an agent. And then it's gone into me wanting to expand the lines into products. So the apparel and jewelry store is on the way. So I can facilitate, again, showing the market that diversity should be normal and it's not a trend. So everything kind of led into the next step of the development of Soli production.
You just continued laying tracks down as you move forward.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So like Sid said, we keep building for what you go after what you want. Building our own tables, I guess, is how I put it. If there's none there.
And you are both, you and Michelle, involved in the Atlantic Scholarship Organization. Michelle, can you tell us a bit about that, please?
Certainly. Well, the idea for building Atlantic Scholarship Organization came from our own experience as international students and as students who needed support outside of family, who needed community support to achieve their academic goals. So once we got to a level where we started to have some sort of pull and some sort of influence, we thought that we could use our platform to create spaces for other students who had obstacles and barriers towards reaching their own academic goals, to support them through that. So it's not just about financial support, it's also about resources, where to tap into resources that will help them to reach their maximum potential as academics.
And I know you're involved in another educational organization, but I'll come back to that in just a moment. Sin, you're a hairdresser, and you're a hairdresser in Ottawa. And I know Ottawa is a huge place, but the population of perhaps African descendants may not be as extensive as it is in other parts of Canada. How did you, one, decide to go into your field of hairdressing and cosmetology, and what has that journey been like?
Oh, wonderful. I love every bit of it. I sleep, eat, breathe fashion. I love all sorts of fashion. So it was very, even from a little girl, like you talk to people from St. Vincent who knows me from since 2 years old, and they're like, yeah, she was always about the makeup, the hair, the heels, walking in and shoes that can't wear, so it was always something that I like to do I knew it was inside. If it wasn't hairdressing, it was going to be therapy. I wanted to be like a counselor about, and I'm like, hairdressing, same thing, right? Therapy.
No better therapy for a woman than those services.
So I'm actually still getting to live out both of my dream, stuff. But I started in Montreal, and it was just wanted to get the educational part and getting certified. So I went to school, the college there for cosmetology and hairdressing. And right away I got into the movie field, doing extras and on the movie set for model agency, solely so I started to do those stuff. One of my first big movie that I worked on was The Snake Eye with Nicolas Cage. I did the Bone Collectors, doing all the extras for the makeup there and hair. So it was just it's something that I always wanted to do. And so I started off just a small little place with 2 chairs and a room for my aesthetics part. And I just go in and, okay, I got to do this. booked appointment, but once one person saw, once here, and then word of mouth, and then it starts going on. So I start building through the community in Montreal, and met my now husband at the time and moved to Ottawa. And so it's been 13 years in Ottawa now, building the business. And like you said, there is now a very huge Black community in Ottawa. When I came, there was not. 13 years ago compared to now, it was totally different. So I'm trying to, my clientele is very government. I think there are lots of professionals. So, and before the clubbers and partiers and stuff, but because of COVID, no one's going anywhere. So the business has slowed down quite a bit, but because I've built myself such a great clientele, I still have like stability with the business. And yeah, so just like, I love just doing makeup, making people feel great. You know, seeing ladies with gorgeous hair, anything that I can do to lift the spirits, and making sure that because I believe like the hair, the face, it's like people say, oh, it's shallow, it's materialistic. But I find even for men, once you look good on the outside and you feel good on the outside, it's just, it's inside too. But looking yourself in the mirror and you see yourself smiling back and looking shiny at each other, it's a good feeling. So I think,
and I see that the ladies are agreeing with you. So I think you have the right formula right there. You have the right formula.
Wondering if you chose it this way on purpose, because there's so much link between what Suzette is saying.
Everything is just so well intermingled. Yeah.
I feel it.
You and Sin have something in common. Solita and Sin, you have something in common. Michelle and Solita, you have something in common. And collectively, we all have something in common. This is just absolutely fascinating. Let's do a little bit more music. Solita, I think this is one of your selections. And then we will get back to our discussion. How's that?
Yep.
This is Pure Vincy, and this evening I have the distinct honor to speak to three Pure Vincy ladies, three Pure Vincy ladies who are entrepreneurs, three Pure Vincy ladies who are entrepreneurs in Canada. I'm talking to Suzette Haywood, Solita Short, and Michelle Short.
Regardless of what, we shall never part. No way, the best part of my life is just living strife. But the newsman does want to spoil my life. If I talk to share and they watching, if I walk with your land they spying, they don't know if it's just a casual happening. Some just changing and gonna feel it. No one can deny I'm such a friendly guy. For their misconception, thinking I'm a wild man, I just wanna make them understand. I love me white, I love me white, I love me white bad. I love me white, I love me white, I love me white bad. Me white, I love me white bad. It's me life.
So Lisa, I have to say I love your joy. I like the fact that you're reveling in this one.
Yeah. You should have heard the house before she came.
I didn't hear that.
I don't think my neighbors like me at all. There's that crazy Vincy woman again.
Oh, yo. Michelle, you are also involved in Learning for Life. And I'm wondering, is it a spin-off of the Atlantic Scholarship Organization, or is this something that was founded quite independently?
Somewhat independently, but both coming from the same place, which is true understanding of the power of education and power of learning. I became fascinated with learning and how young minds work. As far back as like 4 years old, I think. At 4, I recognized that I didn't learn like most people, but that I was still in love with the process. In particular with reading, and it was difficult. So I kind of like self-diagnosed myself with dyslexia and just thought, you know, how do I help people regardless of what their challenges look like to still achieve their academic goals. And so learning for young minds was for me like a natural next step with that. I studied child and youth development and with particular interest in the sort of psychology behind learning and learning difficulties. And so I went into ECE, which is early childhood education, and as an educator, and then I moved into the role of program coordinator, which is where I fell in love. I discovered that I had a knack for developing programs to make learning more interesting and fun, especially for young learners. And so I really loved doing that and did it for about 5 years. And then I moved into the role of executive director at that same center and got to hone my skills there. And at that time, learned that I may be able to help educators as well. So started designing programs for professional development and training for teachers. So learning for young minds was me just putting together my programming, educational programming skills, together with my passion for learning, into something where I could serve more than just that one center. I could serve learners and educators across the world. So.
Okay, and how diverse is your clientele? Oh, proud sister.
I'm so proud of the proud little sister. She's amazing.
I'm extremely proud of her too. I don't know if you notice when she talks, I'm just in awe because you get to see what Salita is doing, and a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes of. I know. Anyway, I just wanted to spend a little second just like highlighting how incredible she is and all that goes into what she does. But back to like learning for young minds, I serve anyone and everyone who's a learner or is supporting a learner in one way or another, regardless of race or nationality. So I've done some work. I lived in Montreal. Suzette, I lived in Montreal for 15 years. I kind of moved there right after you left. Yeah, and I actually just recently relocated to Halifax at the end of this summer. But so I worked a lot in Montreal with high schools and elementary schools and some daycare centers there. And at the same time did some satellite work here in Halifax. I'm currently in the process of putting together a training program for the Learning Center in Beckway. I'm really looking forward. Yes, I'm so excited to be doing that. The young lady who's running that program, Tylisha Miller, big shout out to you, Ty, is doing incredible work. And what really draws me to her is how much goes above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that those students get what they need. Like she makes each and every one of them feel valued and really takes the time to figure out what they're learning, what's needed in their learning experience. So I'm super happy to lend myself to the work she's already doing there. And we're working together to create some training tools for her staff, as well as some programming for the students.
That is outstanding. Thank you so much for that contribution. Oh, look at them, look at them. You don't know which one of you want to be more proud of, right?
Amen.
And you have a makeup line. Tell us about this cosmetic and makeup line.
So Sensu Cosmetics, it started also back my daughter's 27 now. So yeah, she's 27. So I started this when she was probably around 5 or 6. And it was just that, being a single mom, and I wanted to, having that love of makeup, I wanted to put something extra that I can make money by being at home, but, coming back not going back into the workforce right away. And doing makeup on the set, like I'm sure these ladies could, especially so you can test that. The skin color, the foundation,
Yeah.
the powders, all that stuff, it's also wrong. I always have to be color correcting, mixing my own product, doing all the own shading for myself to do that. So I got introduced to a chemist that was working on cosmetics in Montreal, and I started to play with some products with him, and $300 or $500, and I said, okay, this is all I have. So I want you to just get me the base of the stuff, and then we can work along the way as I start like going out and sharing the product. And once I start making more money, I can pay you some more money to keep going with the products. Long story short, it worked really well. I had the foundation, the lipstick, the powder, basically the whole skincare line with it as well. And for me, it was the having that marketing was the hardest part of it, because the branding, I find that it's now with Instagram, it's a lot easier. But back then with the branding, if you don't have the finance to put into it to make it out there, you're like this little fish in like this big pond of all these other cosmetic guru, and it didn't really push us for as much as I wanted it to go. And also it was for people of color, meaning whether you're Asian, Indian, Black, whatever, darker skin. And I just find that I wasn't getting the kind of support from the people, like our people, with the product. You know, they're like either wanted undiscounted, they wanted, you know, that, and it just left me really saddened that, you know, I did all this, I invest thousands and thousands of dollars, and you know, to hear, well, oh well, could I, if I buy two, could you give me one for this? Or and I see you walk into the Bay or Sephora or any other cosmetic store, and you will pay $66 for one lipstick from Chanel, and for mine you're like, oh, it looks so good, I love it, but you won't pay for it. So I'm in this like chance of like, do I continue with it? Because the product is really good. It's an amazing cosmetic line, but it's it's all natural ingredients, and with aloe vera, everything, hypoallergenic, because myself, I'm allergic to everything. So I wanted to make sure that it's not clogging your pores, it's really good on the skin, and you don't need a lot. It's like it covers well, but you don't feel like you're wearing a lot of cosmetics. So
it's a perfectly healthy product and something that can compete anywhere in the world.
Yeah, anywhere.
How did you deal with the issues? One of, as you say, people wanting to ride on the Caribbean sister thing and ask for a discount here and ask for a discount there. And secondly, acceptance, because I know we have a problem accepting things that are homegrown and from people of color and from people of the Caribbean. How did you break through that barrier?
Well, I just put it this way. It's like, this is my job. This is my livelihood. It's not a hobby. I'm not doing this for fun. Just like how you go to work and you get paid from your boss, I sell my product. I get paid for my product because this is what I survive by, and I need that money. I think one of the things is that when you're an entrepreneur, and they will attest to this, we put a lot of money and time and sweat and blood into a lot of things. But when someone on the outside looks at you, they think, oh, Sue got this, Suzette this, she doesn't need my money. She looks good all the time. She's driving a nice car. She's doing this. She's not, not knowing that that one lipstick that I saw you for $14 or $15 or $20 cost me, it may cost me like $7 or $8, but the cost of like the shipping, the production, the this, the that, then after that I have to drive it and the packaging and the whole, so it's just a big cost that goes with providing a product to you to sell, to put it on the market. So that $20 doesn't come to me. That $20, I may walk away with maybe $3 of that $20 by the time I pay out everybody, right? So it's just the mentality of thinking that because you have a business or you're a business owner, you have like all this project that's going, that you're rich, that you have things done. So instead of supporting you, they're rather going to give it to somebody else that they might think needs it more than you, not realizing that, no, we do need help. And it's like, I will give, I give back all the time, but I only can give back on my business if I'm receiving help from my people. I can't.
But how did you cross the hurdle of name recognition? Because people know the Chanels and they know all of the other products, but Sinsu is just breaking onto the market. How did you deal with name recognition?
Well, like I said, I use the product on I was a regular on the CTV Morning Live and CTV here in Ottawa. So I will do like segment for them, and I will take that opportunity to showcase my products. And so when I do like the Fashion Week in Ottawa, Montreal, I will give products as door prize or something like that, so people can try the products and see the product to make more of a home sale nail. I've sent to Africa, like in Ghana and Nigeria, a client that came to Canada, studied and went back, that loved the product so much, took it back with them, and that building a name there also. So it's just like trying to put it out there, having my friends post it, and, you know, just saying like what product they're wearing. If they're doing like weddings or stuff like that, they can say, oh, this product is used by Sinsu, or, and it's an instant buy. Once they put it on and they try it, they buy it right away.
Well done. So you had to come up with a very interesting awareness and penetration strategy. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
So
Thank
Lita, you were involved in the fashion scene in St. Vincent, and then you left and you went to Canada and you jumped right back into it. But one of the things that I found striking about what you said earlier is how challenging it was in St. Vincent. It wasn't just a walk in the park. And that is something that I am completely surprised by. What made it so challenging, and what's different between the local industry and the industry that you eventually found yourself in?
Well, I think in terms of challenging, the challenge was on the side of here in North America. For me, I meant it was sort of, it was the perfect space back in St. Vincent to get trained, because my coaches were tough. They expected the best of you. So for me, the challenge was really, if I miss, or if there was a misunderstanding before, the challenge was when I came here and I had to become part of the industry in this North American market. I wasn't prepared for that. That sort of isolation because of the color of my skin. Whereas with home, I got everything I needed as a foundation to come here and show up and stand out. So all of my sort of success, I truly attribute back to the agents that I had there, the coaches that I had there, because it was every weekend I was getting on a boat. And that's where the challenge came in. It was getting on a boat from Beckwith to St. Vincent every weekend, going over and attending these classes and being in the space and developing a thick skin from showing up on a stage in St. Vincent or in the Grenadines, because the crowd isn't, they're not going to forgive you if you show up with anything mediocre, right? So
Yes.
That was the only, it wasn't a challenge. It was more of building that thicker outer skin for me. So when I came here, I had the talent. I had
a solid, pure Vincy foundation.
Yeah, so it was like, oh, Brittany, because when I showed up and I saw the way other talent were taking it rather so lightly, and I'm thinking, if we in St. Vincent had the opportunities or access to these opportunities, we would kill the game. But yet people who have it readily in front of them weren't putting as much heart and sweat into the training and perfecting and getting the craft the way that it should be. And I keep going back to the girls and the guys back home. So for me, it was really challenging here, seeing how much access to opportunities kind of watered down how much work you put into what you were doing. And that's one of the reasons too for Solely Production, is that I want to create a bridge where the talent back in St. Vincent and the Caribbean on the whole have access to this market through solely production, because they just need that exposure. And I think, like Sid was saying, the branding and that awareness, because if nobody knows you exist, you can't have access to these opportunities or sell your brand, which is what my models and my talent, that's how I position them as their own brand. So the challenge is really here. Home gave me the foundation I needed to get started. The opportunities were lacking back there. However, it provided me a really strong base to show up and hit the runway like nobody else.
And you said that one of the things that you experienced when you got to Canada was I'm using this word advisedly, the discrimination that you experienced because you were an older model, and then of course, because of your ethnicity. Do you think that those challenges exist today?
Oh yeah, there's still that sort of othering of, anybody who, one, if you're a mature model or you're coming into the game, if you're not 15 coming into the game, there's sort of still you don't have much time in it, because then the span in the industry is so short for a runway or, print model. You have to think of the next step, which would be coaching or going into the arts in some other element of the industry, like a designer, which is what most models then develop into or take that journey if they're going to continue in the fashion industry. So I think with age, there's still that block, and you're only placed into certain categories for that. And definitely with skin color or background, your ethnicity plays a big role into where you fit or how long you have sort of airtime in the industry. So again, that's one of the reasons why I started the agency, was to just give people who were talented the opportunity to be in the space. And, back to the makeup and the hair, there's so much that I have to deal with as an agent and as a model coach, where not everybody, that they show up to knows how to deal with our hair or our skin tone, and they throw you out looking ashy or your hair is undone. And, you're told, yes, you look beautiful, but when you look in the mirror yourself, are these people crazy? So we need makeup and hair stylists that truly can represent all of us with their craft and do us justice by accentuating our beauty and it not being a barrier because my skin is a different shade than what the status quo claimed as beautiful. So when is it Suzette or Sin? I heard Sin and Suzette.
It's
Sinsu. The brand is Sinsu.
Sinsu. Okay. So when you were talking, I'm thinking in my head, it's already clicking, the makeup, the collaboration, the partnership, because then we need that type of product that is for everybody. And for me as well, knowing that it's a Vincentian that is putting the heart and soul into that, my models need to have product that they can use and promote and celebrate their beauty as well, that was made for them. And also respecting that the work that goes into what you're doing, that $20 or that $7 isn't a true reflection of how much work you put into it, yet we're expected to downplay our worth so we can have exposure. Right now, I am full up to my head in exposure. I just need now to be able to afford the stuff. So pay me my worth and the exposure, I'm good on that front. So I totally understand when you were talking and would love to, partner with you in getting the brand that exposure and using it in the things that we're doing here. And this is a market that, is very diverse as well, that brand needs to be here. And, carrying
Vincy.
Yellow, blue, and green, right? To my backbone, I've been seeing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Talk about that more as well.
Yeah, we will. Let's connect. Yes, we definitely.
Wonderful.
I saw that
we were talking
Sorry?
a little bit about discrimination, and I just want to go back into your field. in terms of discrimination, we find that apart from our communities who discriminate against people who are differently abled or challenged in one way or another, some learning difficulty, we also have parents who do not want to accept the fact that perhaps children are challenged, and then they put their children at a disadvantage because the opportunities that they should have been afforded to help them develop and take their natural place in the world have been denied. How does Learning for Young Minds deal with this issue?
The power of words. Like, I feel
Sorry?
like the power of words, that's what comes to mind for me, first of all. How do you communicate to parents on such a sensitive topic? You know, I think part of that comes with training for educators and for educational support workers. How do you communicate to a parent in a way where they hear you, they believe and trust you, and are moved to change and to do something about it to support their children? Because I'm a mom as well. And I know that if, you know, at one point we thought, you know, it wasn't a learning issue, but it was a physical issue. And I took that hard, even though I want the best for my child. And I knew that addressing it would be the best thing. The way it's presented to me, is there any hope in the delivery of, you know, of this situation? Like, is there a way to involve the parent where they feel empowered to for change as well? So yeah, it's something I definitely take very seriously. I guess one, because I'm a mom as well, but also because at my core, I'm an educator and I believe in quality in all aspects of learning. And a big part of that is how do we communicate with parents? And do we see parents as true partners in their child's learning? For me, that's key, and that's part of how I address that and have positive results.
You made it sound like really easy and a very simple solution to the problem. But I think in St. Vincent, our problem is a bit more stubborn than that. I don't know how you're able to, you know, break through to other parents, but somehow in St. Vincent, and I have been speaking to the principal of the School for Children with Special Needs in Kingstown, and she said that that is actually one of their biggest problems, that by the time the parents in just total despair give up and throw in the towel and say, okay, my child needs help other than what is available in the mainstream educational institutions, it is almost too late for them to do any sort of...
But I think that's true here. I think that's true of all parents. And yes, it is simple. It seems ridiculous, but it's simple. It's all in how do we communicate to that parent. Like, we have to think about what words are we choosing to use, like leading with love and hope. And I know I'm sounding like all la-di-da right now, but I've been in this field for a lot of years and I've seen that it makes a huge difference. I've seen parents who went from like, you don't, like they've that attitude where don't come to me with that, go from that to like, okay, tell me what's next step, where do I go? And all it's how you present that information to them. And are you leading with hope and empathy, like for their situation? It's difficult.
It really is. And I suppose now that you're already in with Beckway and you're offering some support to the Sunshine School, eventually it's going to find its way up to the mainland and into the schools for children with special needs.
I can't wait. I think that working with Tylisha is going to really give me an idea of what's needed there, and what exactly is needed, how I could really be of help. Because oftentimes, you know, I'm Vincentian to the core. I love my country. And because I was raised in Beckway, I didn't come to Canada until I was 18. I feel like I have all those values and cultural values instilled in me. But at the same time, I have been living in this country for a long time, and I'm very much Canadian as well. So I'm not of the assumption that I know exactly what is needed there, or what I'm definitely going to be seeking their input on what they need from me, and then adjusting it, what I have to offer.
We look
around
forward
that.
to these interventions, and if there's anything that Sweet Radio SVG can do to be a part of the whole solution that you're trying to create, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Thank you.
Ladies
I
and
appreciate
gentlemen,
that.
this is Pure Vincy on Sweet Radio SVG, and this evening I have the distinct honor to speak to three amazing female entrepreneurs, resident in Canada, but originally from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm talking to Suzette Haywood of Sinsu. I'm talking to Solita Schott of Soli Productions Management Incorporated, and also of the Atlantic Scholarship Organization, and her sister, Michelle Schott, who is also a co-founder of the Atlantic Scholarship Organization, and she's also the founder of Learning for Young Minds. Pure Vincy will continue with these young ladies after this little bit of music. This is music from Sheena Collis. Sheena Collis entered the calypso scene, let's see, about 3-4 years ago, and on her very first entry into the field as a calypsonian, she went straight to the finals and has been entering the finals ever since. Really amazing productions, extremely talented young lady, and she's one to watch for the future.
Wow.
Let's talk about your days in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You young ladies, you're from Lower Bay, and everybody wants to be in Beckway these days. We're actually killing ourselves trying to get to Beckway despite all of the restrictions of COVID and social distancing and everything. Tell us about your memories of Beckway and your days in Beckway.
Oh my God. Like, where do you start on that? Like, I guess what first comes to my mind is my mom used to always say to me, Beckway is not the world. Like, she would always say that. This 7 square mile piece of rock is not the world. Because I was so content to spend my whole life there. I absolutely loved the experience of growing up there. I'm an author as well. And a lot of my stories I started creating in my head when I was like just a child. And it was because I had all these incredible characters that were my island people. You know, I think of Kate and Lily, who sat on the stairs when I went swimming, when I go swimming, and they always had something to say. In fact, they were the same ladies when I was initially coming to Canada on my own, who they didn't know where I was going. They knew I was going foreign, but they didn't know. And they were like, we're praying for you. They're saying all these kinds of things, like short of blessing me with holy water. And then at one point they said something to me and I'm like, you know, I'm going to Canada, not the US. And they're like, oh, we wasting our time with all that nonsense. You're going to be fine. Canada's safe. But no, there were so many incredible things about growing up on that island and community. Like for me, I've always been community oriented, and being, you know, in a space where everybody was family and everybody's looking out for you. I couldn't ask for better. And I'm so grateful that I got to do that for like the first 18 years of my life. I think the experience of growing up on Beckway, and I spent a lot of time on the mainland because my granny is from Lower Leewoods as well, and I was from Lomans. I got to experience that every summer as well. So I had like a true Vincy childhood, and that has informed a lot of what I get to do with my life now.
Is there a difference as in life in Beckway as a child compared to life in Lomans as a child?
A big difference, like massive difference. First of all, we would show up and we were like celebrities. Like when we went to Lomans during the summer, like my cousins were like happy to say we were from Beckway. I think it's a big cultural difference between growing up in particular on Beckway or any of the Grenadines Island than on St. Vincent. I was lucky to benefit from both of those in a big way. Just like my aunt had grew bananas, and she had livestock, and that sort of experience like taught me so much about responsibility and a different kind of fun than like, you know, and on Beckway we swam 3 times a day and got to engage with tourists from all around the world. So I'm not sure that one was better than the other. I'm just grateful I had both, but they were definitely different experiences.
So Lisa, what are some of your, yes.
No, so what she's feeling to say is when we went to the mainland, we had to work in the banana fields.
I enjoyed that. I'm like full of scars, and it was crazy. My nieces would look at my body and go, "What's that one from? What's that one from?" And I would tell them stories.
So
Yeah,
that's a
when I
whole
was
book in
fighting
itself
my
waiting to be
cousins.
published.
Yeah, like I thoroughly enjoyed picking a banana right from the tree and enjoying that. My granny had passion fruit by the window, so we'd have fresh passion fruit. I just didn't like the fresh cow milk. That was about the only thing I didn't like there. But just the food, even the food on St. Vincent, I find different than the food that I grew up with on Beckway. But for me, it was like going away when we spent the summer in St. Vincent.
Yeah, going away to work. Yeah,
you didn't seem to enjoy that Lomans thing as much as Michelle did.
No.
What are some of your fondest childhood memories?
To carry the bananas down to the pickup trucks and stuff like that. For me, I love being there for a point, like the breadfruit and the saltfish and the fruit. Yeah. Those things I love about it, and the river, going to the river and swimming.
That was amazing.
But for me, Beckway was my thing.
She's been a princess her whole life.
No.
Yeah, like being the baby in a family of 6, like it was bound to happen. So even on Beckway, like hard work was not quite her thing.
Well, and Beckway, you could run out to the beach. For me, it was easier than spending the summers on the mainland in St. Vincent with our grandmother. But for me, it was the food. Even on Beckway, like I miss the food. I miss the fruit trees. I miss the access to just walking out and picking plums and mangoes and all of that, and then going to the beach and the community of it as well. Like all the kids were heading down to the beach on Sunday or Saturday after you finish, doing the yard work or whatever housework you had to do. But I now as an adult, I really see what paradise I had back home, and I hope the people that are there now listening to it, it's beautiful here, and I wouldn't trade being in Canada. However, I would appreciate more. I would tell the child in me to appreciate more what she had there on the island than we did, because we always think it's greener on the other side, but looking back now, I can really see how beautiful and how amazing being a Vincentian is.
That one pulled at my heartstrings, Solita.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like more and more people at home, the young people at home, recognize what they have, because when I was a kid, like the dream was to go away to the US or to the UK or Canada. But now I feel like with all this access to information, people at home are recognizing that we don't have it so bad on our, and that might be like naive for me to say because I do live here. But I get a different sense of it when I go home or when I interact with my family who's there, and
they don't want to leave.
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of them, like there's a lot of great things here.
Well, we just love Becca. We love VC.
Suzette, tell me about your childhood. What are your fondest memories?
Oh boy, I think I'm like with Soli. I was like the princess of the whole thing. So I was just like I'm from Vermont, Leewood End. You know Vermont?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Vermont. So my grandmother was the one who took care of my brother and I, because my mom was in Canada at the time. So it was very, very strict for me. I couldn't go to the beaches. I couldn't go to the rivers. All the neighborhood kids were running to the rivers and doing all that stuff. And I was being sheltered because she promised my mom that she has to take care of me and no one's good. So every time I did outside, it was like get back in here. Your mother, I'm responsible for you. So it was like, I didn't get that fun part of like going to the beach and the rivers and stuff. I was really sheltered. And
Aw.
my grandmother had like farming. So she used to go to Trinidad, Barbados to sell like fruit, provisions. So
Right.
apples, bananas and all that stuff. She was in the market in Kingston, like on every Fridays, Saturdays. I remember her making sweet potato pone or red belly.
Oh God.
And I have to go at the, so then I have to go to the side of the street and like sells the pan, like the tray of all the pones, like 25 cents a slice and all that stuff. So that was like, I enjoyed doing stuff like that, like going and selling the stuff. And that was our like lunch money for school and different things like that. And, you know, like when she's doing her crops and it's ready to like for the edos and stuff, we put it in the bags, and then she's like, take this down, and I'm like trying to put it on my head, and I'll just put my knees down, and I can't take this, and then she's like, go home, just go home. So I was doing all the hard work. Because I would never carry. I'm like, oh, this is too heavy, or this is too this, and I don't know how. It's like, so she said, okay, go home, season the chicken, you can cook, you can this. And so I was just trying to pretend like I didn't know how to do anything. And then she just, grandparents.
That princess mentality, that princess mentality.
I'm just here shaking my head, shaking my head.
Push it to the side, and they're like, okay, I'll do it. And then it's like that. How are you gonna get a husband? You can't boil water. You can't.
Oh dear. So but listen, Suzette and Solita, you guys have this princess mentality, and basically, as people like Michelle and myself would say, y'all just had everything put out there for you. Life was easy. Life was a walk in the park. How did that affect your journey into entrepreneurship? Suzette, maybe I'll start with you.
I use it for my advantage. So I was just like, you know, like I use a charm to get into any situation. If I'm going to for product management, you know, I'm like, oh, hello, so how are you? And, you know, and like, great, you know, like I use the charm of doing things and making, like, not making them do the work, but like try to, you know, get them to understand where I'm coming from. And, you know, it's like, it's being charming.
So
and,
quite
know,
unwittingly, you were already developing your soft skills.
Yes.
And Solita, what about you?
Yeah, but I must say, although I'm a princess, I'm a really hardworking, and when it comes to work and being disciplined and being focused, I'm very much that. And I think
there's no doubt about that.
Attribute, you are going to reach far and get what you deserve, because no matter how much there's time for everything. That's what I always said. It's time to. I do carnival. I like to party. I like to do like. But when
coming back to you on that, huh? I'm coming back to you on that.
When it comes to work and my business and the passion that I have for it, and I will be like at my salon. I will clean the toilets. I will sweep the floor. I will wash the laundry. I will do everything for my business to be successful, because that is my passion. It's my bread and butter. And I will do whatever the staff or anybody will do, I will do it myself. So but being that princess of being, taking care of yourself, this is how I look at it. It's like nice, like to have nice hair, you take care of your health, your body and stuff like that in that sense. Now that I'm grown, that's how I see it, like being that you should love yourself no matter what. And it doesn't matter what you do for a living, you should always put yourself first.
Right.
Understood. And Solita, how was it for you, that transition?
Well, like Suzette said, it's using those skills that you develop as that child, or for me, the baby of the family, and having people do the stuff for me, but also knowing that you gotta put the hard work in because you want the life of that princess. Doing all the work. Like I don't think any responsibility within the company that I've created is beneath me to do, because I will sweep the floor, do everything that needs to be done to get the job done. It's not beneath me to do it. But I think that charm as well, where you can finesse certain things based on those skills that you learn as a child. Because Shelly was my, I can't do it, so they do it for me kind of situation, when I fully well know I could do it. And I had the ability to do it, but I was able to sort of encourage other people to join what I was doing. And I think that played into now being able to lead and have people trust and follow your vision, in a sense, because what I'm doing really requires people to see the vision, because I'm seeing years ahead of where I am right now. And that's why I can work so hard in this present time to build it, because I see what it's going to be. Solely production is going to be a household name across the world, because the industry right now, as it's set up, what my foundation is built on diversity isn't something that is celebrated behind closed doors. It's only for the sort of lip service. It's what makes everybody look like we're trying to change the narrative. But when the doors close, it goes back to the status quo. So I'm hoping that by me sticking this out and being in this industry, it's going to become a norm where people look like me.
Together we shall.
Yes.
Sweet Radio SVG.com.